Okay. So the last 4 years, the Falcons have just gone offense, as we know. So last year was just the stunner, right, of the first round, that they went quarterback after signing Kirk Cousins to what they signed him to. And now Kirk is the backup. And the rest of the guys are still waiting on a breakout Kyle Pitts season. It looks like they're going to go defense here.
And remember, they started over on defense. Jimmy Lake was a defense coordinator last year. They made a change, brought in Jeff Ulbrich from the Jets, who had worked under Robert Saleh. What do they like to have? Pass rushers. Here comes Brick now to coordinate this defense, and pass rushers staring at him. We just did it with Tyler Warren, meeting the needs with Indianapolis. Can we do it again with that need being met for Atlanta? It's right there. Here's the opportunity.
Exactly. The two best players available fit the specific need of those teams. This is
you don't have to outguess yourself, right? It's right there. If that's who you have rated, this is a chance to go get them.
Pick is in, coach to owner. Conversation happening right now. Terry Fontenot hugging it out. Hugs all around. Arizona is close to 90 ticks into making their selection, 16th overall. Once that's made, we'll be halfway through the first round. Still haven't gotten another quarterback selected since first overall. Daniel, looks like you want to say something.
I'm just looking at this with Jalen Walker. Not only the best available, it fits, a need that they have. But I think back to Houston. Now, Houston did it in one draft. They got C.J. Stroud. They got Will Anderson. They got great players at positions of need, and they were leaders of each side of the ball. This, to me, you get Penix last year. If you come back with Walker this year, let these young guys lead offense and defense of the Atlanta Falcons.
Remember, those guys were named captains right out of the gate.
Doesn't make any sense. Like, I go back to last year, and it doesn't make any sense.
I gotta move on. Gotta move on.
I know.
Here's the latest Falcons first rounder.
With the 15th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Jalen Walker, defensive end, Georgia.
Sometimes you just don't overthink it, right?
Look, the rest of my mock draft, I'm going to probably hide under my bed, but this one I got right. So, I thought there was a chance he could drift a little bit, and he fell right to the Atlanta Falcons. What a dream scenario we've seen with these last two picks. Tyler Warren to the Colts, Jalen Walker here to the Atlanta Falcons. This is someone who reminded me a little of Dante Hightower. If you remember, he could play off the ball. He could play on the ball. He was disruptive no matter where Kirby Smart decided to line him up. For a guy who's only 6'1", he plays so much bigger than that. He can set the edge against those big 6'5", 300-pound tackles. You want to rush him off the edge, he can win. He's got legit, when he's healthy, 4.4 speed coming off the edge. He can close in a big, big way. You see him, you want to spy him against Arch Manning, who can really run. He sucks him up like a Hoover vacuum. So a big-time fit, big-time player.
And another front seven player from Georgia drafted in the first round. And our longtime friend Mike Mayox used to sit on this set with us over the last several weeks, coming on my show once a week. He said he had a higher grade on Jalen Walker than Abdul Carter. So there is a lot of excitement in that room for a guy that fits a major need from right there in their hometown.
And we have another guy who's still on the board, Jahad Campbell, out of Alabama, that's very similar to what we're talking about with Jalen Walker, where they're off-the-ball linebackers who can move to the edge and rush, a la Dante Hightower, who changed the fortunes of the Super Bowl with a rush and knocked it free from Matt Ryan and started that comeback for the New England Patriots when you have that type of a player.
What are you doing, man? They're all excited about their pick. Why are you bringing up that Super Bowl?
But it doesn't matter. This is a guy that's on the reverse side of it.
I see what you're saying.
And maybe he can do it for them.
Normally you don't do buzzkill types.
No, you went there. I'm just saying this is a positive for them. And I'm just telling you, for the Falcons, no more worried about Vic Beasley. No more worried about John Abraham. Jalen Walker comes in, and maybe he's their new guy.
Okay.
So the Atlanta Falcons, again, a team that has struggled on defense, struggled for pass rush. One of the few teams that has used all of its allotted time so far to give us all an opportunity to catch our breath. But I'm told that Roger Goodell has the pick in hand and is making his way to the stage now. So the Falcons will announce their selection here. It will be Atlanta, then the Arizona Cardinals on the clock after them, then Cincinnati, Seattle, Tampa Bay, and Denver rounding out the top 20. Here's the commissioner with the Falcons selection.
With the 15th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Jalen Walker, defensive end, Georgia.
Well, there he is. That's a name we expected to hear earlier. He won the Butkus Award last year as the nation's best linebacker, 61 tackles and 6.5 sacks for the Bulldogs as they won the SEC. He was a 5-star and a Gatorade Player of the Year coming out of high school in North Carolina.
Carolina took Tedero McMillan, didn't take Jalen Walker. That allows him to slide down here. Jalen Walker led the Georgia Bulldogs in tackles for loss with 10.5 and sacks with 6.5. He was off ball as well, getting after it. He was coming off that edge. And what does Atlanta need? They need an edge rusher. For Jalen Walker, this guy is heavy hands. He jolts out opponents back. He's quick to trigger as an off-ball linebacker, physical, taking on blocks. This kid, number 11 in every game Georgia played this year, guys. Top.
Interesting, Mel. He's an off-the-ball linebacker, but the best thing that he does is rush on the edge. Very, very similar to a linebacker that plays for the Cowboys named Michael Parsons. His ability to line up at multiple positions and wreak havoc on the quarterback. He can play off the ball, he can play on the ball, but he was absolutely dynamite coming off the edge. Just ask the Texas Longhorns. They could not do anything with him. You're going to block him with a tight end, a guard, a tackle. It does not matter. Heavy hand, and at an undersized rusher, Lewis, to me, he reminds me of James Harrison. I'm not concerned about the ability that he's only 6'1". We saw James Harrison at 6'1", play outside linebacker for the Steelers and dominate. Coming off the edge, rushing against offensive tackles. I think Jalen Walker can do the exact same thing at the same height.
Yeah, look, James Walker's a freak now at 5'11", 250 or whatever he was. You know how good he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Jalen's interesting because it's not a whole lot of technique involved with him. He just plays so hard, and he's so explosive, as you can see through his core with his hands, and he never gives up. Effort sacks are something that they're not effort sacks to him. They're just normal. That's just the way he plays. It'll be interesting to see what Raheem Morris does with him and where he plays him, because he does play all over the place. 2-point, hand down, off the ball, spy guy. I said in my notes, I said, this guy's going to be a hell of a blitzer. I pity any running back who has to step up in the A-gap and take on this dude. Because I'll tell you, you better have a strong neck. And you better be able to play low, because this dude is coming now, and he comes with a lot of fury. I'm looking forward to see what they do with him in order to get the pass rush they need.
Well, and to that point, if at first you don't succeed, just keep trying and trying again. The Falcons have been trying to fix their pass rush since Big Beast. This is another effort for Raheem Morris and this defense trying to fix this pass rush. Hopefully it works for him this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that Mike Green is still on the board for Marshall, who is fantastic.
Yes.
This is the first time the Falcons have used a top 15 pick on a defensive player since Vic Beasley in 2015. And we'll continue from Green Bay in 30 seconds after this word from Thrivent.
And then we will see how it plays out as Shedeur Sanders is still waiting to hear his name. We assuming Atlanta's definitely not traded back into the first round to select him. So let's just place that aside for the moment. And I'll let you know the details of this trade. Atlanta coughs up a second tomorrow night, a 7th on Saturday, and a first-rounder next year, and get a 3rd from the Rams. The Rams now get a 2nd-round pick back. They didn't have one this year because they flipped it to Carolina last year to take Braden Fisk out of Florida State. So smoke them if you got them right now in Los Angeles. They're not going to pick until kind of the middle of the second night of the draft. They have 2 3s, a 4, 4 6s, and a 7, and a first-rounder next year. Atlanta giving up a lot of capital for this pick here.
Les has got to get a new coffee mug, collect them picks.
Yeah, but here's the other part with Atlanta. It's a division they think they can still go get someone, even though Tampa's won it 4 straight years. They haven't run away with the division. Atlanta feels like they can go do it.
Los Angeles Rams have traded the 26th pick to the Atlanta Falcons. With the 26th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select James Pierce Jr., defensive end, Tennessee.
So the team that needed pass rush has now absolutely checked the boxes this evening.
We begged him for years. Just take a pass rusher in the first round. They never did it. Now they decided to double down. How about that? A big-time explosive athlete. Leonard Floyd is the body type. You see the height. You see how kind of that lean, narrow frame. But he ran in the 4.4s, and it shows up. You see him get off the rock. He's got a variety of moves. He's not just going to win with that speed. He can win on the high side as well as underneath the tackle here with a little up and under. Wanted to see a little more consistency with this. The pocket collapsing power. That's going to be an area you want to see him continue to develop. He can set the edge. You see it here as a pass rusher, can also do it in the run game. I knew they spent a lot of time on him, and there was talk, CD, they could take him with the 15th pick. I think they were just surprised Jalen Walker was there. They couldn't pass him up. But hey, why not go back and get another one?
I think what's interesting about this for me, guys, is that when you're looking at James Pierce now that you picked up Jalen Walker, isn't Leonard Floyd now in Atlanta, who you just compared him to? Now you can have a plan for him. Jeff Ulbrich can say, I can DPR him, designated pass rush, have a plan and work him in as he gets bigger and stronger and adds a little more balance. Because right now, he's a sprinter. Before long, we're going to have to add a little bit more to it, but he doesn't have to do it right away. It's a good pick for them.
The Ravens halfway through their pick as we send things to Ian. Ian?
Rich, DJ is right. The Falcons came this close to picking James Pierce at number 15 overall. They have, in fact, done extensive homework on his character, trying to understand the immaturity. They've talked to basically everyone he knows. They met with him and his mom yesterday doing late homework on Pierce, believe in the culture that Raheem Morris has created. Rich, James Pierce, now Falcon.
Bench, you got Wilson, Winston, and DeVito. Now you add Jackson Dart, and they need the young quarterback. No question about that. But will he be afforded the time necessary to develop out of that offense?
All right, the Falcons have traded into this spot, and the commissioner will announce their pick right now.
The Los Angeles Rams have traded the 26th pick to the Atlanta Falcons. With the 26th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select James Pierce Jr., defensive end, Tennessee.
James Pierce Jr. goes to the Falcons and moved into the spot that had belonged to the Los Angeles Rams. Adam Schefter has more for us. Schefter.
Well, Greeny, this is an interesting trade. The Falcons get back this first-round pick to take James Pierce and a third-round pick. But in return, the Rams get a second-round pick this year and a first-round pick in 2026, along with a seventh-round pick this year. So this year, where all teams held their initial first-round draft picks coming into the draft, next year, the Cleveland Browns already have the Jaguars' first-round pick from one trade today, and the Rams now have the Falcons' first-round pick next year for this trade.
So we only had one trade in the early portion of the night. Now we've had back-to-back picks that get moved. As far as James Pierce is concerned, first-team All-SEC each of the last 2 years, Mel, racking up 17 sacks.
I'll tell you, look, I got to see this guy. I'm telling you, this dude has the most potential of any pass rusher in this draft. I believe outside of Abdul Carter, all right? He could be the next best pass rusher in this draft without a doubt. At 6'5", 245 pounds, 4.47 in the 40. He reminds me of body type-wise of Javon Curse when he came out of Florida. He could go speed to power as well as anybody you see. It is classic. It's textbook. He's got the speed to chase down any quarterback in the NFL. He's got the power to collapse the pocket inside out. When he wants to slant down inside on run stunts, he blows up everything. Everything. He'll track down balls one side of the field to the other. The question with James is this: consistency. Can you get it out of him all the time? Can you count on him? Can you depend on him? Is he always going to be there? Is he always going to answer the bell? Because if he does, Atlanta finally has the rusher that they've been looking for. Because he has it all.
The Falcons have been in the bottom 2 in sacks 4 of the last 6 years, including 31 last season. But they've gone a long way to address that tonight, taking Jalen Walker from Georgia earlier and now James Pierce from Tennessee.
All right. So your son might not like your posture, but he's going to like that draft.
2 different sons. My oldest doesn't like my posture. My youngest probably digs this piece.
I see you. Real quick, I want to introduce my son, Jonah. I appreciate you being here with me tonight, buddy. We got a trade.
Oh.
The Philadelphia Eagles have traded the 96th pick to the Atlanta Falcons. And with the 96th pick in the 2025 draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Xavier Watts, DB, Notre Dame.
Love this guy.
Yeah, they were not good on defense last year in Atlanta on third down. They couldn't get to the quarterback, and they couldn't get off the field. This guy not only can help you get off the field, CD, he will take the football away.
He'll take football with him off the field.
13 career picks. And to me, this is more football player than athlete when you watch him. He wins with his eyes more so than his physical talent. But he's someone that, to me, that's a skill. You've been around guys that necessarily aren't the most explosive, dynamic athletes, but they just know how to play angles. They know to trust their eyes, and they play faster than their ability says they should.
I can't, listen, I can't talk about Xavier Watts without thinking about the downfall of Nebraska football. I know that sounds crazy, but he grows up in Omaha and he winds up at Notre Dame and not at Nebraska. That didn't used to happen. If you're wondering why Nebraska hasn't been Nebraska for 2 decades, Nagurski Award winner Watts was, the 7 interceptions as a junior, back that up with 6 as a senior. Like you guys said, always around the football.
And Nebraska catching a straight.
I know, I'm sorry. I don't know. I mean, but that's what I think about, right?
But you remember they weren't exactly loaded all the time, but they always kept their guys home.
Right. Just lost Larry the Cable Guy at home, Rich. He just turned it off. Thanks a lot, Clap.
So the Atlanta Falcons next pick, and then the Bengals and the Titans are currently on the clock.
Hello from Berlin, Germany, the location of this year's NFL Germany game. My name is Contra K, and I am proud to announce the Falcons' next pick. With the 118th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, Billy Bowman, defensive back, Oklahoma.
A good player here, Billy Bowman, out of Oklahoma. They'll play him deep. They'll play him as that robber, let him get down in the box and make plays. He gets to the perimeter. He's an outstanding tackler, as you see right here. Here's an example of that range. You want to run to the outside. He's able to take excellent angles and arrives with some bad intentions there. Real physical player. Here's that robber I'm talking about. Able to drop down in the middle if you want him to. Read quarterback and make plays. Here he is showing you some of those instincts. You want to fake a field goal, I'm all over it. I'm going to sniff that one out, CD.
Yeah, and how about my comp for him with Quandre Diggs? Because you're talking about a guy who has instincts, guy can see the plays in front of him, drop into the low area, and you mentioned bad intentions finishing things off. There's Bowman doing it against LSU. Watch Quandre Diggs. And that's Kyron Williams that you were just talking about. Bad intentions coming up and making the play. And Billy Bowman, married to an Oklahoma outfielder in the softball team, has won, 5 straight NCAA?
They don't lose.
Make some noise! First of all, I want to say thank you to the entire Atlanta Falcons organization for choosing me as the International Fan of the Year. Second, greetings to the Atlanta Falcons Germany community and the Dirty Birds Nest. With the 218th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select
Jack Nelson, tackle from Wisconsin.
Rise up! Rise up!
Rise up, indeed. 50 starts.
Yeah.
50 career starts. That's a lot of football. He's played guard. He's played left tackle. He's kind of a typical Wisconsin guy, more power than finesse, as you saw right there. But I think Jack Nelson could be more than a 7th-round pick. I think he's got a chance to be a solid swing tackle, maybe some guard potential there as well. He's a better run blocker than pass protector, so right off the bat, may have to move inside. His pass sets can get a little bit frantic, but he's got above average range as a run blocker. He works and strains at the point of attack to kind of stay connected to blocks, gets out of his stance easy. I had a 5th-round caliber grade on him, so I think this is a good value in the 7th round, and I think he's a player that can make that team out of the 7th round.